John Steenhuisen, the leader of the Democratic Alliance, has appealed to political donors to persuade some parties to join his moonshot pact and prevent an ANC-EFF coalition. The Inkatha Freedom Party, the National Freedom Party, Freedom Front Plus and the United Independent Movement have agreed to join the pact. However, Steenhuisen says the United Democratic Movement has refused the invitation. Well, leader of the UDM, General Bantu Holomisa, joins me on the line to tell us why exactly. General, thank you so much for your time and thank you for joining us this morning. Take us through, I suppose, your reasons as an organization for not wanting to form part of this agreement.
John is so desperate the way he acts. I wish he can recommend me to any financial donor, which he knows that it can help the UDM. I'm not in the pocket of any donor. UDM, that's why you never see us declaring money. We are not going around asking for money. We are an independent political party. So if that is his attitude, then he must forget about working with the UDM. I don't know what kind of politics is he trying to convey to the citizens of this country. In any event, on the 28th of April this year, we will be meeting as UDM members in a National General Council meeting at Kalaga Estate, wherein, among others, we will be discussing the issues related to 2024 elections and also talk about coalition as well. Then we will ventilate this desperation by the DA. But one thing must be clear. We are not a branch of the DA. We are not controlled by the DA. But in the meantime, I would advise them that they must explain to the country as to what were the circumstances which led to them declaring other political parties like ANC and EFF as enemies. If those they are enemies, if those parties are their enemies, it doesn't mean that we must also say those two parties are our enemies. We worked with them. Even DA had worked with EFF for many years. Now when they are not in agreement on certain issues, they say they are the enemy and they were expected to be enemies. We were expected to be their enemies.
General, if you'll allow me, I just want to interject at this particular point that you're making, because it's so crucial. The mandate of this particular moonshot pact is to unseat the ANC government and to ensure that there isn't an ANC-EFF coalition that is able to emerge out of the results of next year's polls. You are currently saying that as an organization you feel no enmity towards the ANC or the EFF, and so I suppose on that point alone are in strong disagreement with the objectives of this pact. But I wonder if you are in agreement with quite a substantial number of South Africans who believe that the ANC's time in government is up and that the EFF may not necessarily be a viable option.
I fully agree with the notion that the ANC's time is up. In fact, the UDM started that campaign long time ago. The UDM even called for an establishment of an interim government. But the style of DA in addressing this issue, I don't agree with them. I'm not a beginning voice for them.
Right.
So, hard luck for them. In fact, you must know that there are a lot of initiatives it's not only the DA which talking about establishing an alternative to the ANC. But if you say he is your enemy, you may even not get some members of the ANC who would be an initiative of what we are discussing. We have been discussing this issue of a coalition, but I'll give you details on the 28th of April at Galaga Estate. You can come, please cover us live as you always do with them. Just give us a time that time. Okay?
General, okay.
Thank you.
Before I let you go, our conversation isn't up quite yet. A criticism that has been thrown at this particular moonshot pact by other parties that don't feel too affable towards what the DA leader has been saying is the lack of collaboration, the lack of cooperation. It would seem as though any party that chooses to align itself with this particular pact would essentially be co-opted into this grand idea that the DA has. And I want to play a quick bite for you, General, from ACDP leader Kenneth Mish on what he believes, at least, with regards to this pact. Let's take a listen.
For him to now tell the public that we have rejected cooperation, that is a definite lie. What the ACDP rejects is the big brother mentality or a headmaster mentality. He makes decisions with his people, and then they come and tell us that this is what we have planned to do. We must support them. That is what we do not agree with. We agree with the approach that was taken by General Holomisa, who invited leaders of other political parties last month on the 15th and said, let's look at how we can work together to defeat the ANC. South Africans must know that there is no leader in his right mind. There is no person in his right mind who can say, we want the ANC to have another shot at government or another term. We don't want the ANC to win because the ANC have destroyed South Africa. We all agree about that. So we are saying, as the ACDP, if Mr. Steenhuisen wants cooperation, particularly because he attended the meeting that was coordinated by General Holomisa, treat leaders of other political parties with respect. Don't treat them like small boys who must hear from a headmaster.
All right, so, General, you would have heard that clip. Interesting words being used by the ACDP leader there, calling out the DA leader for treating other opposition parties like small boys, and the DA in this particular scenario being looked at as the headmaster. Your response to that, and also Mr. Mesh is calling out of this idea that for parties that choose not to be a part of the agreement, that they are sort of suffering from, a lack of cooperation, when that isn't necessarily the case.
Well, Reverend Mesh is echoing what I initially said when I received this letter, that DA is treating us like small boys. And I did even use the word big brother mentality setup. So it's not going to work. He must tell Steenhuisen that he can go ahead with his initiative without us. There are many other millions of South Africans who have got better, who can have come up with a better approach. In fact, I'm involved in a number of initiatives discussing these issues, because what we tabled and what all the parties agreed upon is that we must have this convention. That was, we started this thing last year already discussing. We said, let us have a national convention which would involve political parties inside Parliament, political parties outside Parliament, the sectors of our civil society, and we ask one question: how can we rescue South Africa from the position it is in now? And out of that, once we get a better mandate endorsed by everybody who is concerned in South Africa, we'll be able to answer the question, how do we implement whatever the convention would have agreed upon? It's not about positions and hijacking and hiking in a jet or whatever space to the moon. But it's about what are the problems, why the ANC has abandoned the original agenda, that of building or of helping or working to attend to the needs of all South Africans.
Right.
That's what we agreed upon in 1994. But now they're stealing the government monies for their own party. Look at Hitachi.
Well, General, just for the purposes of time, just for the purposes of time, I do have to interject here and just clarify this point. Your party is having its National General Council on the 28th of April, and that's where this particular issue is going to be ventilated. Does that mean there is a prospect of the UDM joining the Moonshot Pact should enough members agree to it, or are you more comfortable with the establishment of an alternate convention that is looking at similar objectives? Very quickly, General.
It can't be a similar objective where you say you have declared enemies with other political parties. No. We won't join anything towards that. We've traveled this road before under National Party of declaring other citizens of this country as enemies. We are not going to go through that route again. They must go and think again. Thank you.
Thank you very much, General. We'll leave it there for now. That is leader of the UDM, General Bantu Holomisa.